So I've been thinking lately about some of the financial mistakes that I actually made in my 20s and in my 30s so far, and how much money I actually left on the table. And I thought I'll share this with you to avoid you making these financial mistakes. Or if you're actually currently making this, like, let's stop bleeding financially. Hi, my name is Jadesala, and on my channel, I talk about personal finance, property investing, and all-round personal development. And if you find this interesting, please make sure you subscribe and share this video. So let's talk about these mistakes that I've made so far. I would say the first one is maybe not changing jobs often. And in my first job in Nigeria, I stayed on the job for 6 years. Now, don't get me wrong, I was getting promoted every year and I was getting double promotion every year. But it's not so much the fact that, you can actually get significantly more salary increase when you change your jobs. It's more about the skill sets that you get to have from having, different experiences by changing the company that you're working for. And I think that that's where I probably would say that I made the most mistake, because you stay in an environment for so long, things get monotonous, almost like you stop growing and you've reached like the peak you can reach in terms of learning new things in that environment, or the amount of things you can still learn in that environment, unless you're in an environment that is actually quite challenging and is giving you a lot of things to learn. And I think that when you're still like very young in your career, while money is very important, I would say that building and growing your skill set is important. Unfortunately for me as well, I was in an environment where I was one of the best, and I didn't have too many people that were pouring into me like I was pouring into them. So a lot of people were learning from me and I wasn't learning so much from a lot of the people that I was surrounded with. And I think that that is where the real mistake came from. Because if I had diverse skills, a lot more skills in different environments, I probably would have grown a bit more, not just in terms of, the salary that I would have gotten, but also in terms of, monetizable skills that I would have gotten, because a lot of companies are not paying you because you're just changing jobs and they're, trying to hire you. They're going to pay you significantly more because of the value they think you bring to the table, how much experience you've had. And if you are on this table, while I'm not saying like job hop every 1 to 2 years, if you've not, mastered, the skills and the things that you need to learn from that environment, but put it at the back of your mind that beyond the money you're going to get from salary increase, that you are thinking about the next set of skills that you want to learn. And the interesting thing about, learning on the job is that you're learning from experience, which is actually the absolute best way to actually learn something new. Now, let's talk about the second mistake. Now, this for me, I think it's quite sad. And it's about not learning to invest in the stock market. Now, my background is in financial services, so I was in an environment where you would expect that I would, have the curiosity to actually go and learn more about the stock market. But I used to say it so proudly that I'm not investing in stocks because I don't invest in things that I don't understand. Like, let that sink in. Like, what is that? Like, why wouldn't I want to understand it? Maybe I was just comfortable in the sense that the bank that I was working for had a high yield interest fixed deposit account or product that I was getting like between 15 to 17% per annum, which is very decent, if I have to say. But I did nothing else with my money except put it in fixed deposit. And not learning how to invest in stocks meant that, all of the years that I could have learned how to do this, and also, had compounded growth in my stocks, is I can get that back. right? And I only just started learning and investing in stocks in my mid-30s after I relocated to the UK. And it's that thing where, we get to just comfortable and we don't want to take risks. We just want to see our money in a bank account either not earning any interest or earning really ridiculous interest because we are scared. Like the only way for you to alleviate your fears is by learning about the thing. Nowadays, like there's so many videos you can watch online. There's so many apps that also make it very easy for you. There are lower risk investments that you can start with and then build momentum in. So we don't have any excuse not to invest. Now, again, this is not financial advice that you need to go and invest in stocks and shares, but you need to learn to invest because for someone like me, I never had a problem with saving. Right? So being able to reserve or put money aside was never a problem for me. But in terms of how to grow the money and make it work better for me, that was where I was making mistakes. So now let's talk about the third mistake. And for me, it was the fact that I wasn't focused on money. Not at all. Not when it came to my career. I wasn't focused on money. I was just grateful. Right? And I don't know if this is like something that women deal with, or maybe it's just like culturally. So I'm Nigerian, that I just didn't really focus on money. I was just grateful. I was grateful that I had a job. I was grateful that I was getting promoted. I was grateful that I was doing work that I thought was interesting to me and I was excelling at. I wasn't really focused on how much money that I was making on the job or what I felt like I deserved. And again, like I said, I see this a lot with women where we try to play safe. We try to, feel like we're humble, like while we are undervaluing ourselves. We go for the safe choices, even in terms of maybe the courses we study in school, in terms of the jobs or the career path that we choose, without really thinking about, hey, if I go and study this course, what will my future look like? How much money will I earn in this industry? Is this a career path that would make me earn more money? Is this a role where I would be paid fairly? Is this a role that can help me secure my future? It goes to the point that, we see a lot of our African parents, push us to go and study certain courses. And I think that, I have to commend African parents for wanting to do that, to say, hey, follow, a career that is going to give you money, prestige, respect, things that would make you or make people value you more and pay you more simply because of your job title. And, I was just not focused on money at all. As a matter of fact, like when I stopped my 9 to 5 and I started my startups, which I had with my former boss, I literally did not increase my salary for 6 years running the companies. I stayed on the same salary for that long until I relocated. And, it's just insane with the amount of work that I was doing. The salary was not even, it was not even on par with the amount of work that I was doing, with the amount of value that I was bringing to the table, with the amount of money that I was making for the company. It just didn't make any sense. And the interesting part was I was the one dictating how much salary to pay everyone. And I wasn't paying myself. And I relocated to the UK. I was still running these companies remotely and I stopped paying myself salary. And it's that thing where, that humility, it didn't help me. And now in my late 30s, I am unlearning that. I am speaking out more about my achievements. It may sound like I'm bragging, But yes, we need to talk about this. We need to negotiate more. We need to remind ourselves of what we're good at or the things that we're doing. Like the audacity of men needs to be studied by women. Like you see a lot of men who don't qualify for a job, but they would apply for it. You see a lot of men who don't know what they're talking about in meetings, but they will speak up. And a lot of us will just shy away from, speaking up or bragging about the things that we're doing, or we actually feel like the things that we're doing are not worth bragging about. We feel like they are too small. But this is where it makes the difference, because you build confidence the more you talk about your achievements. And it's that compounding effect of, that your confidence over a period of time that makes the difference in the kind of jobs you will go for, in the kind of business that you're going to start, in the industry that you go for, in the kind of money that people would, pay you. And I think that this particular topic actually deserves its own video, because it's costing a lot of us, opportunities for generational wealth. Now, the next mistake for me would be perfectionism and wanting everything to be perfect before I make a move. And, this is where a lot of money get lost, because there will never be a perfect time to do something. There will never be a perfect time to start something. There will never be perfect condition for anything. The only perfect time is you starting the thing. It's you doing the thing. And this goes with, a lot of businesses that I could have started. And then I start working through it. And then I start to overthink it. I start to feel like, hey, I need to dot this I, I need to cross this T. And for a lot of people like myself who suffer from analysis paralysis, what will end up happening is that I don't get to start, right? Or that I start and then I give up along the way because I'm thinking that maybe something is not perfect. And until I started to learn that done is actually better than perfect was when I started to see a difference in how I'm able to, bring a bit more money to the table. Like a lot of us are waiting for the perfect time to start something, to do something, but there will never be that perfect time. And the worst part is the more you wait, the more opportunities that you're losing. And you start to feel like, oh, maybe this industry is saturated. I probably shouldn't do it again. Someone that doesn't have as much skill as you do has started it. And, things by nature, when you're starting it, they're meant to be messy. And a lot of us are not comfortable with that messiness. And we miss out on a lot of money that we can actually be making. So now to the final mistake. And I think for me, this was making a huge financial decision when my mind wasn't right. And I've talked about this a bit on my channel. I lost my dad a few years ago, and I went through this phase where, what is the purpose of living, right? What is the purpose of working and trying to achieve all of these goals when one day we're just going to die and it just wouldn't be important anymore. And on the other side, I was like, oh my gosh, life is short. Like, why am I playing it safe? I need to do a bit more with my life. And I completed on my first investment property a few weeks after losing my dad. And I was, still in that phase where I was, I had that existential crisis, literally. And I told myself that I needed to be in a community of property investors. And I joined a community and I was trying to go for this mentorship program. And I couldn't afford to be in that mentorship program. And it was a lot of money, I have to say. Mind you, I had just completed buying an investment property. I was in the middle of the refurb. I had just spent a huge sum of money on my dad's funeral. I was not in the financial space to actually take on an additional financial burden. So I decided to take a personal loan. And even though the thought behind it was right in the sense that I was like, hey, I'm developing myself personally, I took this loan and I just couldn't part with the money, first off. So I decided to go for like a monthly plan. of paying this money to this mentorship program. And I was £9,000 in from the money that I had taken before it clicked in my head like, hey, this doesn't make any sense. First of all, I'm not learning anything new in this program, right? This program was meant for actual beginners, and I have learned so much from the process of buying my own investment property. Secondly is, I'm going to be paying this loan over a 5-year period. And the interest rate is actually quite high. It doesn't make any sense. The third thing is, this amount of money that I'm going to commit into this program is actually deposit for another investment property. It doesn't make any sense. So by the time I was like, having some sort of like clarity, I was £9,000 in deep. I tried to pull out of the program. I tried to ask for a refund, but hey, they were not budging. So now I am stuck repaying that money. If you're going through some sort of like stress, grief, heartbreak, financial loss, what you don't want to do is dig yourself deeper into a hole. Give yourself some time to breathe. Don't make decisions hastily when you don't have a clear mind. Like, you cannot be borrowing money when you're all over the place. Grief will do that to you. Stress will do that to you. And I learned my lesson, a hard way, where I am still recovering from the debt that I took. And that wasn't a very smart decision. And a lot of us are making decisions based on how we feel now, based on our current circumstance, and not really thinking about the future impact, or not really thinking that decision through properly. Now, why am I sharing all of this? It's not like I'm beating myself up for anything. It's more recognizing the mistakes that I've made. I restarted my life, 4.5 years ago. I relocated to the UK. And in that time, I have bought 2 investment properties. I have also bought my first home. I have saved my emergency funds again. I'm investing in the stock market. But it still doesn't take away from the fact that, hey, a lot of the things that I'm trying to do now a bit more aggressively, now that I'm closer to 40, I probably could have started early. So if you're still much younger, these are ways that you can think about your future. Like, if you're still in school, what are you studying? If you're, even in a career, like, how are you thinking about, acquiring a high income skill? How are you thinking about advocating for yourself? How are you thinking about pivoting when you need to pivot to another environment? How are you learning more about, financial opportunities that can make you more money? And it's all of these sort of things that, we can unlearn and we can avoid in making and grow our money. And in as much as a lot of us don't like to admit it, money is good. And our humility or not wanting to appear greedy is not helping us financially. So yeah, those are the financial mistakes that I've made. So what are yours? Please leave them in the comment section. And if you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you next time. Bye.